All right, I would like to reconvene the Washington Unified School District Board of Education regular meeting for February 11th, 2016. And I would like to ask Michael Reed, who's our new Assistant Superintendent, I think this is his first meeting here, if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and for announcements of actions taken in closed session, no action was taken. So we're on to approval of the agenda. If I have a motion to approve or any changes to be made.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, communications and celebrations. We have our River City High School Athlete Scholarship for Jaden Krim.
One of the most memorable and wonderful, heartwarming times in our district is when our students leave us and go on to bigger, brighter things, either college or a career. And this evening, we're going to celebrate one of our seniors who has some really special opportunities ahead of her. I'm going to have Principal Moisich talk a little bit about what her opportunities bring for her.
Good evening. So tonight we're going to honor Jalen Krim. Jalen is a senior at River City High School. She is a member of our soccer team and is going to be getting a full ride scholarship to St. Mary's University for her marvelous soccer skills. But also we have to point out she is a marvelous student and a marvelous person, and her family is here tonight to enjoy this with her.
So what we'd like to do, Jalen, is send you off with a brand new sweatshirt for your new school and congratulate you on this wonderful time. And maybe you can introduce your family at this time, too.
So today I have my mom, Carrie, my dad, Kenny, my younger sister, Kaylin, and my younger brother, William. And thank you for honoring me tonight.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. I did see your face all over our Washington Unified Facebook pages and other places. So thank you for representing us so well. And what a good role model for your siblings, too, as well as for everyone else. Thank you. Is there any more comment? Okay.
Congratulations.
All right. Then we have, moving on, we have our communications from Mr. Kazanis.
Good evening, board members. I just wanted to take a quick moment and do a little soliciting to members of our audience and to members of our community. As you all know, recently we just kind of developed a new newsletter and kind of online email system to really connect with the community, tell them about what's happening in our schools, deliver announcements that are happening with the school district. And it's a good opportunity for folks to just stay in touch with us and, tap into a valuable resource that we're developing here. I wanted to just highlight on the homepage of our website that you can see here, there's a couple places where you can just click on automatically, and all you have to do is go to the sign up link under news and announcements, or off on the right where you can also see to sign up for news and updates as well there. And as soon as you click on those, it's a pretty simple process. All you have to do is put in your first name, your last name, and an email address, and then it automatically plugs you into our database so that we can, basically deliver those messages to the members of the community automatically. So anything that we are trying to relay in terms of projects, events, announcements, it's just a better streamlined process for people to be apprised of what's happening in our schools. And that's all that I really wanted to do. The other thing I wanted to talk about briefly is just the Facebook, the Twitter, or YouTube pages to view any kind of meetings that we have here as a board. It's just a great opportunity for folks to tap into those resources and use us as a resource for information and actually be up to speed with what's happening in our district. So with that, I'm done with my piece, so.
Thank you. All right, moving on, we have our Student Association report, and we have stepping in for Anna Marie Risa, we have Vikram, who's here from the high school.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Vikram Kelkar, and I'm standing in for Anna Maria today. Because she has a mock trial competition today, so she wasn't able to make it. Tonight I have a couple reports from two of our schools in the district. First, we have Southport, who just finished a clothing drive for needy families overseas, and 150 bags of clothing were donated, which filled an entire U-Haul. So congratulations to them. Also, their girls basketball team won the championship, defeating Stonegate. And the boys basketball season is now underway, with the first game scheduled for February 18th. Southport's National Junior Honor Society completed their Pennies for Patients program, donating money for cancer research, and they raised over $600. They also are hosting a Chipotle fundraiser on Tuesday, February 16th. And when ordering your food, they want you to notify them to make sure you're supporting Southport. And their talent show is next Thursday, February 18th at 6 o'clock. And at River City, 8 students from Mr. Connell's 3D design class contributed ceramic artwork for their California Duck Days reception. And these pieces will be featured in the reception on Friday, February 19th, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Davis Art Center. There will be a raffle, food, and entertainment, and the reception is free and open to the public. On May 21st at the Wild Horse Golf Course in Davis, the River City Athletic Department will be hosting its first inaugural golf tournament that will benefit the River City Athletic Department. And this tournament starts at 8 a.m. and will include a 4-person scramble, a catered luncheon, and a awards reception will follow. Help us to make this a swinging success. For more information about the tournament or sign up to sponsor, visit our website at rivercityhighgolf.com. On February 18th, River City Leadership will be hosting its annual Spaghetti Feed dinner at the VFW Hall. Tickets will be $4 for students, $5 for seniors, $6 for adults, or $20 for a family of 4. And dinner will be available between 5 and 8 p.m. Also have an update for River City's winter sports. Things are going pretty well for the boys basketball team. They've had some heartbreaking losses, some really close wins, but they continue to fight hard and get better every day. The JV team continues to play outstanding basketball, and the freshmen are hanging in there with a positive record of 5-4. And we're representing ourselves off the court as well, with a 3.2 overall GPA, and 72% of our players have a 3.0 or better, and 13 of them have a 4.0 or higher. The Lady Raiders varsity basketball team continues to battle in a very tough Tri-Valley Conference, where the 3 top teams in league are ranked in Sacramento Bee's top 20 schools. And if the River City Raiders win the remaining games and Rio Linda loses one, we'll make the playoffs for the 7th consecutive year in a row. In the classroom, the Raiders earn a cumulative 3.3 GPA as an entire program. And we're going to be honoring 2 seniors, Araya Moore and Ashley Mondia, February 16th. Wrestling is going well. Although our numbers are down, everyone in wrestling is enjoying it. They have faced some tough competition this season and have responded well. And we have the league championships this Saturday and expect most of our varsity wrestlers for the divisional tournament to qualify. Finally, RC Boys Rugby, a Division II team, just played a strong Division I competitor, Vacaville Bulldogs, on Saturday, and sadly they lost 21-29. They held them off in the second half, scoring 16 of our 21 points in the latter part of the game, and keeping them at only 5 points in the second half. We had our first home match today at 4:30 against Kennedy, which was our first league match. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. We have our WTA report with Don Stoffer.
Good evening. I'm happy to say that negotiations is back on track, and we will be meeting later this month, and I'm hopeful that we can wrap up our negotiations for the 15-16 school year soon. Board policies and ARs, I was going through them the other day. Someone had just put a little bug in my ear, and it related to our policies in regards to LGBT students and transgender students. And and this is specifically about the law, AB 1266. And I did notice in the policy items on sexual harassment and hate-motivated behavior, but I didn't see anything given the new law in effect. And I know you guys are going to be looking at policies this year, and I'm just hoping that you'll consider that as well. This is that time of year it's been a very stressful week for many teachers and for me, because I've had to talk with them. This is the week that teachers learn that they are going to be non-reelected, so they're not going to be coming back to Washington Unified. It's not a fun task. It's very difficult. Lots of tears, lots of a lot of unhappiness. One thing I've seen this year is that most of those individuals were hired in July and August. So the chances of getting employees who are really a good fit for this district are diminished at that point, because at that point it's just a matter of trying to get a credentialed person in the classroom. And so I'm really encouraged that Human Resources has already got hiring pools up there, even if we don't have a position ready for them yet, but we're anticipating it. So I'm glad to see that up there, and I'm hoping we can get in the recruiting business real soon to make sure we get the best match for our kids in our district. On a good note, as of today, we have 52 teachers who have signed up to attend the Good Teaching Conference in San Jose in April. And these are our teachers who are going to give up a weekend of their time to work on improving their skills and networking with some of the best educators in California. And this is an exciting thing. And this looks like it's going to be another successful year. And I very much appreciate the partnership with the district on this. This is a really good thing for our kids. And then finally, I just also I've heard of the proposal to expand VAPA next year. And the expansion would be to have a dedicated VAPA teacher at each of the K-8s. And I think this is a great idea. I know people are saying very positive things about it in the schools. And I'm hoping we can continue to expand that program. It's good for kids. And also include special ed in this program. I think special ed needs to be part of this as well. And that's all for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We do not have a CSEA report tonight. And so now would be public comments. At this time, members of the public may address the board on topics that are under the jurisdiction of the board and not on the agenda, although the board by law may not take action at this meeting. The board may limit the total time for public input of any topic to 20 minutes, and speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. And public comments consisting of individual charges or complaints, we ask that you submit those in writing per district policy. And I don't believe we have any public comment at this time. Okay, thank you. All right. And moving on, we have information discussion items. The presentation of the governor's 2016-2017 budget proposal. Oh, no, we don't.
Board and super.
We also have first board and superintendent comments, which I'm so delighted to hear. So first, can we have board trustee Pizzotti?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to basically say congratulations to Jalen Krim. I think that's phenomenal. It's so incredibly hard to be not only a leader, which she is, but a great student athlete. That takes so much out of your time, especially in high school. And then I also wanted to congratulate the high school teams that are, the student gave such a great report about what the academics were of some of our student athletes on the basketball team and on the Lady Raiders basketball team as well. I think that's just fabulous to see them, doing such a good job in the classroom, in their curricular activities, and being such good leaders and role models for the rest of the kids growing up in our district.
All right, thank you very much. Board trustee Villegas.
I have a few things to talk about today. Sarah and I attended the city school 2x2 and had a great meeting. It was all about internships and the partnership that we have with the city of West Sac and Washington Unified. I just wanted to report that I believe they had 22 interns that did a 8-week, 40 hours a week internship, paid internship, and their priority was River City High School students, which is awesome. And the mayor is working on this on a national level, and we're looking forward to more opportunities of this coming next year, and hopefully spreading it out to the city, more into the city, hopefully with the school district, the county, nonprofits, and other businesses here locally. So I just think that's a great opportunity. I had some good internships at Sutter Hospital when I was 16, and it was a great experience for me as a candy striper there, but not paid. So the fact that they're getting paid is really cool. And we had the fire chief come and do a presentation on the Youth Fire Academy. They have 14 students signed up. Priority was given again to West Sacramento kids. I think they have one Elk Grove kid and no girls, which was unfortunate. So hopefully we'll get that fixed next year, but as this first crew, they're going through the full treatment of how it would be to be hired as a fire person. So they go through oral interviews and have to do presentations, and the fire chief is super excited about that opportunity. So I'm excited too. I think, and we'd love to add a police academy in the future. I think all of us were pretty excited about that opportunity. The other thing I wanted to give you an update about, we had Waste Management come through the Culinary Academy as well as NCCT, and talking about ways that our garbage collectors could partner with us. Anything from composting to dealing with, I think, sponsorship of hopefully some gardens in the future, but we'll work on that. And I'd like to say thanks to the principal, Renee Collins, because you were very helpful too. So thanks for setting that up. The one unfortunate thing to announce was the West Sacramento Readers Program that we've had at Westfield for the last 3 years is ending this September. But on a good note, we Washington Unified partnered with Capital Region United Way, and we're getting it's the AARP grant. So it's having retired folks come into school sites, and I think they've selected 3 school sites here in West Sacramento on the north side of town. Westfield, Elkhorn and Riverbank. Sorry, thanks, Bill. Just looking at you, you remember that. And we're excited about that opportunity. That's at least a 4-year program that's coming in, and I think it's going to give our kids some extra opportunity to learn better reading skills. And I think that's all I have tonight. So thanks. Did I forget anything on the 2x2? If I didn't, you'll remember.
Okay, and Board Trustee Akala.
Thank you. I only have 2 items. I'm so happy I was able to attend on February 6th, the first annual African American Youth Leadership Conference that was held across the street at the West Sacramento City campus, and it was such a tremendous success. I believe there were over 100 students. In Yolo County, we have about 800 African American students, and I believe 400 of them live here in West Sacramento. So there were about 100 in attendance. The students came together and listened to many mentors and leaders within the community talk about educational opportunities and cultural awareness. It was fantastic, and I'm very hopeful that we'll have it again next year. I think they're going to need a much larger venue, though, because it was so tremendously successful. They had elders, they had music, and just all kinds of wonderful exhibits. And the second item is that I will be attending the cost of high school dropouts in Yolo County, presentation by Gloria Rodriguez on February 18th. And if anyone else is able to come, I think it would be a very informative talk that we should all definitely also discuss, much later in the year, and how it's affecting our students here in West Sacramento. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the City 2x2, thank you for reporting. One piece that may help drive up numbers as well, because they did have openings that we had a good discussion about, was these are skills that help folks, of course, if they enter the fighter career, but it also helps people if they become a dispatcher, or if they're going to enter, any type of a job. These apprenticeship skills really help them to take on some new perspectives. And the police chief very much was encouraging that and saying this is really a door for many places. A shout out to the high school, River City, for their open house. I was there, as was Board President Cruz, and it was so nice to be out in the quad and My daughters were dancing to the music and to have the jazz there, and I had not heard the choir before, and that was really, really incredible. It was amazing. The whole room, we went indoors, and the whole room just kind of echoed. And my daughter actually ran up and said, "Mom, come sit with me in the middle," and sat down and just watched all these, high school singers who were just wonderful. So that was really nice. And then, of course, getting to walk through the halls and see there were so many families who were there and had some packed rooms. I went to wave to you, John Stoffer, but your room was one of the packed rooms too, and you were all full. Looked like a good night. The kindergarten registration is in full swing in terms of getting your packet. So I picked up the packet for my daughter at Ridgeway Island the other day, and with that was the letter that we've been talking about from Principal Chin that talks about enrollment and not camping out in our new policies. And so I was happy to see that. And if anyone asks any questions, you can let them know that it's in their registration packet. That's an issue for that specific site. Also very excited about the dual immersion program and continue to hear so many positive things in the community, and people are excited about that. So thank you for that piece as well. The Good Teaching Conference, I also once enjoyed the Good Teaching Conference and have been there, and how great it would be even to see some of our teacher leaders maybe presenting at the Good Teaching Conference. It's a great place to learn and to share. Yeah, it would be a good one. Okay, so thank you, and that is all for me. So Superintendent, update, please.
Good evening, Vice President Kirby Gonzalez and trustees and guests. This evening, I'd like to give an update of what's been going on in the district. I have visited quite a few school sites and spent a good portion of the day meeting with the principal, hearing how the work is being moved forward at each of our school sites, and also walking to different classrooms. So I'm excited to share some of that. The only thing I keep forgetting is to bring my phone with me while I'm going into the classrooms, because it's hard to capture all of that, but I have a few for tonight. And so before I begin, I just wanted to say a huge congratulations to our star athletes. We have 2 students who are getting a full ride scholarship next year. And so a shout out to Jalen Krim and to Austin Roberts for their exciting opportunity for their future as they move to college after finishing here at River City. It's just really a really wonderful opportunity for them. So I spent a half day over at Riverbank Elementary School, and I really loved this classroom. And so the teacher was very kind in sending me some of the pictures of the things that were going on while I was in her classroom. So you would not believe that this is actually a first grade classroom. It's actually a first grade classroom, and this teacher is one of our innovative educators. So this particular classroom, each student does have access to a laptop computer. And what you see there are students who are grouped into different groups in sessions of different programs. It's pretty amazing what our kids are doing as 6-year-olds in technology and accessing and learning. This next picture is the one that really blew me away. Half the class was working on their PowerPoint presentations. Yeah, these are first graders. And you can see that the astronomy vocabulary chart there, this is the academic vocabulary and the rigor that our first grade students are entering and studying in the classroom. And what I wanted to capture on there is that they're actually using the technology and the resources and creating their learning based from what they're doing in the classroom with the teacher's direct instruction. So it's coming around full circle. It's very inclusive of lots of different content areas into a project, which gets close to that project-based learning concept for 21st century learning. And if you can see on those computer screens of the students, they're building their PowerPoints. You see a solar system there. On the right-hand side, in the area under astronomy, one of the students there, that young girl to the right-hand corner, is studying astronauts there walking on the moon and just getting some content there to be able to build her other slides for her presentation that she would have to give in front of the class. It's amazing. And so there are some incredible forward, innovative learning that is happening over at Riverbank School. Over at Westmore Oaks School, I was able to walk through some classes, and one of the classes that really captured my attention is the GATE class there. And in this particular classroom, you can see the level of detail and how they're combining their science and their mathematics all together into their learning versus having it all separated out. It's just helping the students to make sense of their learning throughout the day. So I thought this was really detailed, and this is a 5th grade class. So that if this is what's happening in 5th grade, imagine what should be happening in high school, right? Our kids are in a very progressive mode here in Washington Unified. Over at Yolo High School, they had their back-to-school night, and thank you, Trustee Kirby Gonzalez, for attending. It really meant a lot to them, and even though it's a much smaller school, they kind of do their back-to-school night differently, where they put everybody, all the staff together in the cafeteria so that parents could go around and literally meet every single teacher that their student has throughout the day in one setting, so they didn't have to get lost or have to do that walk around, because what they had before going through the walk around of back to school night was a barbecue. And so it was very, very welcoming, and the parents really had a good time. I also want to talk about the picture that you have there, Miss Nguyen, who is the English teacher for Yolo High School. I was able to go into her classroom, and the amount of work that the Yolo High School students are doing is absolutely stellar in that classroom. She's teaching MLA. I'm used to APA, and she's teaching MLA to the kids. And let me tell you, you teach them, and they will do it. If they understand why it's important, they will do it. And they will demonstrate how good they can be. Their essays that they have written in that English class blows me away. And the work on display in that classroom is really tremendous. She's doing a fabulous job. So that's Yolo High School. I had a really good time with them, visiting the classrooms and being with the staff. Thank you, Trustee Alcala, for attending the Yolo African American Leadership Summit. Out of the 102, 120 kids, we had 60 students from Washington Unified at that Leadership Summit. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing, and very, very grounded in the rich tradition. And as each person entered that room, we all were anointed with the culture of Africa and how the value of each person coming into the Leadership Summit was just celebrated. And it was just a really great time for our kids. We broke out into workshops, and Principal Moisich was there to see his kids. I want to give a shout out to Frida Clark, who is one of the counselors over at River City High School, who was there all day, who worked setting up over at West Sac Community College for this first annual event to take place, and it was a wonderful celebration. So I want to give a shout out to Frida Clark and a thank you to Principal Moisich, because he was busy on that Saturday. I saw him over here after going to the Steps to College program over in the Natomas area. So we had 40 students from River City High School attend the 5th annual Steps to College. And I showed a couple pictures here because what the students were able to hear was the journey of Alejandra Garcia Williams, who is our Consul General of Mexico, and to hear her story and another person, another leader's story of how their journey got to be where they are today. And they were in their same shoes as the students that attended, to be able to see the role models of what can happen in education and when you go to college was very powerful. One of our students right there, Jocelyn Gonzalez, she was being counseled right there for CSU Stanislaus, trying to get recruited. So we had colleges from all of Northern California all the way down to UCLA. So all the colleges in between UCLA, all the way up Northern California were present, trying to recruit our kids to think about going to college. We had middle school students there as well that joined in all of Northern California to attend this great event. Thank you, Trustee Kirby Gonzalez, for mentioning our kinder registration. And I just want to remind everybody, it's Saturday, February 27th, from 9 a.m. to 12. We will allow people to begin arriving to line up at 8 o'clock. And I want to reiterate, for the safety of all of our campuses and for our members of the city of West Sacramento, we will not be allowing any camping out at any of our elementary sites for the safety of our campuses. There is no need to. Over the past 4 years, Bridgeway Island has had 120 kindergarten slots, and they have never been filled to that 120 on the day of kinder registration. So we do not foresee a problem. Any family going to Bridgeway Island or any other elementary school of having a seat upon that registration that morning. We also want to really push the concept that our dual immersion kindergarten class will be starting this next school year. And what this means is any kindergarten student for next school year has an opportunity to attend this particular program, whether you live in the Southport area, Bridgeway Island area, or you are from Elkhorn School. Any kinder student may enroll for this dual immersion program. So we're excited about that. It's really going to be great. Looking ahead, as we are thinking about our kindergarten enrollment and our transitional kindergarten enrollment, what I would pitch for us to all think about, and we've talked a little bit about this in our leadership, administrative leadership, is if we're going to really strive for every third grade student to be proficient in reading, if we're really going to strive for equity, that all students have access to preschool and to a strong TK program, what can we do here in Washington Unified to ensure that that system and that structure is in place? So what we are looking at that we would like to bring more information to the board about is while we have our TK classes, what we know is a student must be 5 years old in order to enroll in TK, or be 5 years old within that September to December timeframe upon enrollment. What we would look at is, what if a student turns 5 later in the spring? Why not start them on the first day of school versus having them miss more than half the school year and then enroll in TK in February or March? Why not give them that up of education and foundation of learning? And so we're looking into that right now to see if there's any impact to our budget, to our staffing, and we would like to bring that information as a study session to the board of how can we put a structure in place to ensure access for all of our students in preschool. So what I wanted to give a shout out about is I want to make sure everybody does read the news ledger. And I have all these blue tags to remind me that we are rocking it on the news ledger. Everybody knows who Washington Unified School District is. And so on the front page, the front story is about our senior Jalen Krim. And there's a great picture of her, a wonderful article. We also have on the front page the dual immersion program, a great article about that, about what the advantages are of being biliterate as you go through your educational journey. Turn the page. On page 2, you have every student who's on the River City High School honor roll for January 2016 listed here. On the third page, we have a congratulations to Emily Sue, who actually got a scholarship of $1,000 to represent the state of California at the Congress of Future Medical Leaders. Going towards the back of the newspaper, you have an article about transitional kindergarten and kindergarten registration. We are Washington Unified School District, and it is a night to say #great to be WUSD. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Linda, can I ask you one question? So the question that was posed to me in the middle of my kayak class was the people who sign up for Bridgeway and they want the morning class, those are the people that feel like they have to spend the night there. And I said, no, you don't have to. There's enough room this year. Am I correct in saying that?
My understanding is the enrollment, the registration will be taken. The preference to morning and afternoon, I think, is noted. It is not necessarily a commitment to that. Whether you are number 5 or whether you are number 100, it will get, the principal and student services needs time to determine how many people are really requesting that. If parents are requesting that, they need to note that on their registration. It's not a promise that it can happen, but I think that the staff does look at that, and if we need to go to a lottery system, we will also use a lottery system for all of the registrations there.
But Bill, right, for the last several years, we've been okay with that, right? We've had enough room, generally.
There's been space. There's always been space, but we've really, as Superintendent Luna talked about, that we were trying to take out this idea that it would be a first come, first serve for a particular spot in a particular program. And so that tamps down that desire to camp out.
Right.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. And Principal Chin's letter also talks about the AM/PM preference, which is good too. Okay, thank you. So moving on now, we have our information discussion items and our presentation of the governor's 2016-2017 budget proposal. Mr. Landsberger.
Good evening, how are you? So as soon as this presentation comes up, I'll be as brief as I can. A lot of information in the governor's budget proposal, and yes, I can do it very quick. Yeah, it came out on the, I believe it was the 7th of January. There weren't any huge surprises in this budget proposal. You know, as you know, state revenues continue to be strong unless you got the January report on revenues today, which said they were below forecast. But, you know, we continue to grow and develop our budget based on the governor's January budget proposal. The LCAP is a dominant factor. It kind of drives what we're doing in our 3-year plan. And even though it's a positive year, the governor and others are saying start being cautious about that 2 and 3 years out because the economy is slowing down. So the big thing for us is if you look at the growth that we've had over the last few years, and the governor talks about this as well, is the Prop 30 temporary taxes, the growth in the economy, and the maintenance factor has funneled the amount of money that's come into public schools over the last 3 years. We all know that Prop 30 is up. It's in 2 different parts as far as the way the tax is levied. So that's going to become an issue for the state budget as a whole within the next 2 years. And COLA is estimated to be 2 to 3% over the next 2 or 3 years. However, we see a COLA for 16-17 that is 0.47%. So kind of some mixed signals as far as what the Department of Finance is stating versus what they're actually projecting in their budget. And there's a lot of information on these slides. I'm just hitting a couple things, and then you have a copy of it, and you can read the rest of it at your leisure. As far as Prop 98 funding goes, again, the governor continues to be conservative with his estimate, so there's a little bit more money for the current year 15-16. He revises his estimate for 16-17, and he basically goes up 3.5% compared for 16-17 compared to what his revised 15-16 level is. However, ADA across the state is expected to drop by 0.08%. The maintenance factor, which is part of the one of the triggers for the district reserve fund, is completely paid in 15-16. However, in his 16-17 budget, it creates another maintenance factor. So the maintenance factor as far as school districts being completely repaid remains even going into the budget year. We see the disposition of the administration is changing as increase in funding for schools this next year, 16-17, is 2% growth rate, where the rest of the budget grew at 8%. So public education is not the top priority in Sacramento at this point. This chart here just gives you a graphic of how Prop 98 funding has grown over the years. You see back when we first started the LCFF 12-13, it was flat, jumped up quite a bit 14-15, smaller increase for 15-16, about the same increase as going in 16-17. It will continue to slow down, and we can talk about that a little bit here in a couple of slides. So major proposals for K-12 in this budget are, the LCFF funding gap. We are going to be at close to an 85% fund from where it started to where it is supposed to be at 8 years as far as being fully funded, which is the 2007-8 funding level. So what that means is the state now has 4 years to finish off the last 15%. So these huge increases that we've been seeing, we're not expecting to see, because the state doesn't have to do significant increases to meet their commitment. They have 4 more years to finish that commitment. The new early childhood education block grant is going to be very interesting. The thing that makes me the most nervous about it is they took a bunch of different funding sources that they have, put them together, they're going to make them in a block grant, but they did not add any new money to it. It's the existing money, and we're already saying that the early childhood program, state preschool, was already underfunded compared to what costs actually were. So it'll be very interesting to see how they let us move things around within that program, assuming that the proposal gains traction in the budget year. Again, the 16-17 budget is going to have some discretionary one-time money, and that will be based on mandate cost reimbursement that they continue to do, and they've done it for a couple of years now. $1.2 billion across the state. Again, our categorical programs, which is a portion of our budget for special ed and things like that, it's only going to get a 0.47% COLA funding increase year over year. Cap on district reserves. This is, again, more for your information. There's not going to be a cap in 16-17, but they keep saying how the possibility of all 4 conditions being met is not likely. Well, we met 3 conditions last year, and they're expecting us to meet 3 conditions next year. So there's a real good possibility that at one point we will hit all 4 conditions and we'll have that cap. Remember, if that cap is put into effect, it is buffered by a year. So if we hit the criteria for the cap in 16-17, it wouldn't go into effect until 17-18. New funding, again, 15-16. Full implementation is 49.8% is our gap funding for 15-16. They change it just a little bit. And like I said, 85% of gap closure in the first 4 years. So they've got 15% to do over the remaining 4 years. And this is kind of a repeat of COLA at being 0.47%. Some statistics that are specific to the district. The one-time money is estimated about $214 per ADA. They're going to use P2 ADA from last year. For 15-16, for us it was 7,247 students, which means we're going to get about $1.5 million in one-time money in the 16-17 year. And as the governor has done before, he makes some suggestions on how the district should use this money, whether it's for content standard implementation, technology, professional development, things along those lines. However, he is again acknowledging the fact that it is unrestricted money. It's a mandate reimbursement, and the district can use it for any one-time purposes that they see fit, or any purposes that they see fit. Really quick, just some target factors to show you how little money moves when COLA is 0.47%. Year over year, we get an additional $33 for a K-3 student on the target in the LCFF calculation. So when they start talking about COLA in the future years, this is just to graphically demonstrate for you when COLA is 0.5%, it's not a whole lot of money that you're going to get on a per student basis going year over year. Like grade span adjustment, same thing. They pretty much stayed flat. You had a 10% increase for K3, And that's because they're trying to keep up with the amount of money that it's starting to cost for K-3 as districts who were at 30-1 start moving back down to that 24-1 level. So they're putting more money into that adjustment because they realize it's costing more money. And CTE got a small 2.6% increase in its factor. Again, a couple of issues that are specific to us. If you take our projected ADA for 16-17, and we always project ADA to be flat, this year we're looking at the possibility of having some decline in enrollment. You use a new funding rate, our projected LCFF revenue for next year is $66 million. And the one-time money is $1.5 million. Couple of things to keep your eye on. CalSTRS rates, we'll show these to you and they'll be in the narrative for the budget on an annual basis. The key to these CalSTRS rates is you see those rates going up for the employer contribution. There is no new money identified in the governor's budget to help offset that cost. That cost is offset 100% by the school district. And the same thing with PERS. And here are the PERS rates just so you can see that they continue to increase. We do have the PERS and STRS rate in our funding model, and we anticipate those. So when we look at our multi-year projection, they're included in our new costs. So the next steps, I told you I could go through this pretty quick. You're going to see the May revise come up from the governor. There's going to be a bunch of dialogue at the Capitol. There's going to be some conversations about the proposals and the different things that they're going to do. They'll have that conversation. May revise comes out, and we hope that a budget gets signed in June. In the meantime, we will take the factors that I showed you here tonight, apply them to our second interim report, which you will see it's due March 16th, so it'll be the board meeting, I believe, after that. It won't be the board meeting before it. And we'll show you the impact of that, and we'll continue to monitor what happens at the Capitol and bring you updates as we get additional information. Any questions?
I have a quick question. So when it talks about the proposal having, the governor proposes over 7,000 full-day preschool slots, that would continue to be for folks that qualify below a certain income, right? There hasn't been any talk of expanding that for like the sliding scale that we've discussed.
No, I don't think it had anything
Okay.
like that. But I think what we're going to see is he's also putting it into this early education block grant. And I don't have the details of that. I think some of those were just coming. I think Mr. Spalding was reading some of them earlier. And so as we get more information about where that may go, we'll bring that back to you, but it'll become part of the conversation that Superintendent Luna was talking about earlier, is how do we potentially expand our program? And depending on what they do with the funding model, it's going to impact what we are not able to do.
I was just going to mention, I know in Yolo County, they're looking at a 1/8 cent increase on the sales tax so that we can expand the program, but there's also a proposal that's been submitted to Assemblyman McCarty's office that would have matching funds for those districts that do have that type of tax. And that would really open it up in Yolo County for many more slots for, children to be able to attend preschool. So that's also something we can monitor, with Assemblyman McCarty's office. That would be particular, of course, to this district.
Sure. And again, as that information becomes more readily available, there's some additional analysis on what some of these proposals are. We'll continue to bring that information back to you and how it impacts us and what our plans look like as we try to implement, the changes in program.
And then my other question is, since some more money has gone to CTE, is the intent that is for things like materials, for the space? Is that for transportation to get kids here? Is it for, what types of things would that extra money be?
I think at that point, when there's additional money coming into that program, you look at what we're doing with the CTE program and expanding it, and it's going to go into the general portion of the budget that Renee and Stan work on with CTE, because it's at Bright and River City High. So I couldn't say it's specifically for transportation or additional materials. It's just going to expand the opportunities within that program, because the program itself isn't self-sufficient. It does get money out of just the unrestricted general fund. So it just is going to help to offset some of those costs, but I wouldn't say it's for something specific. I think Renee and her team come back and go, here are the needs, and we work them into the budget so that we meet their expectations.
So it's not for new additional programs? Is that what
Well, the
I'm hearing?
CTE money is for any CTE programs that the district is operating. And the district operates enough CTE program that the funding source that generates is not enough to cover the cost of the
Right.
program. And we've decided, through the board's input and the expansion of the program at Bright, that we're gonna run a CTE program that was in excess of the money that the state provided. So it's money to help offset a cost that's already in play.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we're moving on to action items. We have approval of the new job description for administrative assistant confidential. Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Vice President Kirby Gonzalez, members of the board. Just want to share with you that we completed a review of the current staffing in the HR department, and it revealed that the direct support to the Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources, has been an Administrative Secretary 2 classification, but due to the need for this support position to complete work involved in the negotiations process, we are bringing a new position entitled Administrative Assistant Confidential for your approval. This position aligns with Government Code 3540, which prescribes this classification for those whose duties, amongst other things, require the development or presentation of management positions with respect to employer-employee relations. As you can see reflected in the job description included in your packet, this position will be regularly involved in work associated with the negotiations process.
Thank you. Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Move.
Second?
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I
Aye.
too vote aye. Okay. We have, moving on to item 2, approval of the single plans for student achievement. Mr. Spalding.
Good evening, Vice President Kirby Gonzalez, members of the board, Superintendent Luna. We bring to you, as we do pretty much every February, our single plans for student achievement. And you'll recall that these are the plans that our school sites write, mostly for the expending of their Title I funds and for their LCAP funds that are associated with supplemental and concentration for the kind of work that you do at school sites, and for really kind of direct support to students. And a lot of times this is coming to students or coming to school sites based on kind of the population and demographics and working on behalf of the neediest students. Gwen Dellinger, our wonderful Director of Planning Accountability and Compensatory Education, has been working very closely, side by side, really rolling up her sleeves with our principals to develop these plans. There are copies in the binder over there, and there are copies that you have electronically through this. And so we're asking for action on this to approve this. And the other thing I want to say, this is also an expression of your goals, an expression of the LCAP at the school site level. And Gwen is here to answer any questions you might have on this.
Any questions?
Any questions?
If not, I just want to say that our site principals work so hard on these plans. They represent months and months of collaboration with their site councils, their teachers, the parents, and everything you see tonight, you'll kind of find it reflected in the school plans. And I encourage you to reach for them when you want to get to know a school, because if you follow the dollars, you know where the priorities are. And our site administrators put so much time and effort and the communities into these plans. So thank you in advance for hopefully approving them. And I'm here if you have questions ever. Yeah.
How are the parents involved in the process?
So that's a great question. The parents are involved with school site council, and the school site council is an advisory group on the school site plan, and they sign off on it, as well as our English language advisory committees. They also sign off on the plan. Some sites also involve their PTOs, and they talk about this during coffee and conversation. So it's always every opportunity that a principal has to get parents in the room, they want to talk about the school plan.
All right, I looked over them, they looked good. I could tell a lot of work goes into these, so I appreciate it very much. If no further discussion, can I have a motion?
So moved?
Can I have a second? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. Thank you very much for all your work. Okay, we're on to action item number 4, approve of the consulting services with the Cambrian Group for the comprehensive.
Did you skip 3?
Never mind, we're on 3. I forgot my glasses, and sometimes they're helpful in times like this. So we're on 3, discussion and revisions to the approved 2015-2016 board meeting calendar for March 2016. And we have Superintendent Luna.
Thank you, Trustee Kirby-Gonzalez. So what we have to bring to the board's attention is the approved calendar from May 2015 for the regularly scheduled board meetings of 2015-16 school year. If you look at the calendar, our regularly scheduled board meeting in March, which would be March 24th, 2016, falls on our spring break. So I thought it would be best for the board to discuss whether or not to continue forward with this particular board meeting while the district is on spring break, or if the board would like to reschedule it to another date, understanding that the probable availability of City Hall would not probably be available for us. We would have to hold it in our boardroom in the district office. Another option is to have one board meeting in the month of March, which would remain on March 10th while we're in school. So I'm opening it and bringing it forward for the board to discuss what their pleasure would be for that month, and then we can leave it as it is. We can hold the meeting on that day. Administration will come back in and attend and participate in the meeting, should that be your pleasure. We just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Thank you. Okay, do we have discussion?
Yeah, what day is the start of spring break?
The start of spring break is that Monday, which is
That
March
Monday.
21st, and it goes for the full week.
Can I just say, we've had meetings during spring break before and didn't get a lot of attendance. So I think unless we had something pressing that we had to cover by a certain deadline, I'd be okay with canceling it.
Well, I think we really need consistency, though.
Uh-huh.
And just to look out into the audience, we don't have a lot of folks out there right now. I don't believe that it's going to make that difference in terms of public coming out or not coming out. So I think it's really important, Katie, to have this meeting. And I know it's sort of a hardship on some folks, but for the sake of consistency, I think it's important that we do keep it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would want to keep it, I would want to keep it the same as well, especially since this is being broadcast on YouTube. People can, at least see the meetings on YouTube as well. To me, I would hate to change the date or cancel a meeting. I wouldn't be in favor of that at all. And changing a date, I would maybe be open for discussion on that, but my thought is to leave it as is, unless somebody else has something better to say.
Do you anticipate this? I don't have our long-term schedule in terms of knowing what is coming up in March. Do you anticipate this being a lengthy meeting? Do we have quite a bit to talk about in March?
On that particular day, what we will do is front-load all of the district business as much as possible to March 10th and have probably March 24th on a lighter meeting in taking care of business. I completely see, for consistency, people know that we have our board meetings on the second and fourth Thursday of each month. I think the important thing also to bring out is that the board is choosing to do so for consistency and not to hide anything. It is erring on the side of transparency to bring consistency to knowing that the board is doing business on the second and fourth Thursday.
Okay, so if we have, I personally would feel okay with front-loading March 10th and skipping the March 24th meeting, but only because we're having an early discussion on it. It would be very much in the public, and so folks would know we're not doing it last minute, right before,
Right.
not telling anyone. So I would be okay with that, given the fact it's spring break and having all of our staff come in on a week when that would be easiest for them, the less burden in terms of students if we had folks that, if they want to use their vacation at those times. But if we don't have the majority up here, then I'm okay with keeping it. So if you're standing to that, then we can.
I would make a motion that we leave it as is.
Second that.
Okay. So a motion to leave the board meeting in March 2016 at March 24th board meeting as scheduled. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I too will vote aye.
I'll vote aye.
All right.
Thank you very much. And we will just continue that and make sure that the public and our educational community knows we will continue forward with business during the spring break. And then they can actually see the meeting uploaded later in the future. Great, very good, thank you.
And it is also streamed. So why YouTube, it's not up immediately on that, it is streamed right away, so, okay. All right, thank you. Okay, now we will go to action item 4, which is approval of consulting services with the Cambrian Group for a comprehensive strategic thinking and planning process with the Washington Unified School District. Again, Superintendent Luna.
Thank you, Trustee Kirby Gonzalez. Based on the board meeting in January, we had discussed looking into a strategic planning process for the Washington Unified School District. The board has strategic goals and priorities already identified, and it would be time to look at 2016 goals. So knowing that, what we talked about was going through a more inclusive process to have stakeholder groups in our educational community be part of identifying the priorities of the district, and even having a further understanding of why the board is really focusing on certain priorities. That being said, we put out a request for proposal for people who are consultants or firms who do strategic planning to submit proposals to partner with the Washington School District during a certain amount of time. We received 2 proposals, one from the Cambrian Group and one from Collective Invention. The interesting thing about both proposals, the product deliverable is the same. There's no question that both of the proposals show an end product. The difference that is significantly different is the cost and the amount of time of support to the district. So in a nutshell, the difference between the Cambrian Group and the Collective Invention. The Cambrian Group would, the contract itself would go from February 2016 through January 2017. It would be a process that they would come back to monitor how we are implementing the strategic plan. They would walk through training and teachings of the thinking part of the strategic plan. In other words, what are our beliefs here in Washington Unified? What is our mission in Washington Unified? And how are we going to get to agreeable goals and priorities? So there's a lot of work being done in the beginning to set the foundation of our focus, then to build up objectives and goals. But they will come back in their contract. Their cost factor is coming back to monitor how are we doing on the implementation of it. What kind of support do you need? And the difference we found in the Collective Invention is that once the plan is written, which they looked at having it written by August 2016 because we were on a short timeline, their services would be done. And their contract could go up to $150,000, whereas we're looking at the Cambrian Group at $60,000 for a longer time of process. On the airing of transparency, I am actually a trained facilitator through the Cambrian Group. I went through the week of training to be certified. It is not my role as the superintendent here in Washington Unified to facilitate that. I think it's very, very important for the superintendent to be a participant and to learn and understand where our educational community is coming from and what their priorities are. So it's important that we have a facilitator to ask the hard questions for us to really find out who we are and what we're grounded in for the next 5 years. In the process of it, we're looking at phase 1 in the month of March, should the board move forward. In the month of March, we're looking at training for the strategic plan group, which should be about 20 people, and 20 people inclusive of all the different stakeholder groups who will come together to go through that process of core beliefs, the mission statement, the vision statement of the district, and identifying the goals based on the data of the school district the past 3 to 5 years. From that, we will go through a whole process between February and March of just wrestling through and getting a draft of a mission statement between the 20 people and really wrestling through some of what we would love to see for our district in the next 5 years. From that, what the board will receive is a consistent update each month on the progress. The board will receive at the end of May a draft of the mission statement, of the core beliefs of the district, and the identified 3 to 5 goals of which the district will focus on the work and the resources that go towards those 3 to 5 goals and achieving them for our students. During the summer, all the way through October, groups of employees will then come together, and they will come together to write plans on how we will achieve those goals, because really ultimately it's going to be the employees of the district and the staff that are going to ultimately implement the actions to achieve these goals. So then we'll have more people involved. It won't be the 20 people writing the action plans. It will actually be people who are in those areas that are our staff and employees. The final board approval, actually, we're looking at is probably January 2017. But meanwhile, we will be living those 3 to 5 goals identified by the end of May. We will be living those to start the next school year. So it's kind of like a parallel process going on. It's a very comprehensive plan, and it's meant to be able to be inclusive of voices versus just having goals identified and being top down, but it's meant to be more collaborative, and there's a lot more buy-in when people have shared their voices of what is really important and what we would love to see for the district in the next 5 years. So that's the difference between the two proposals that we've received. In honoring the direction of where we're trying to go and getting very focused with our work and with our resources. It's recommended that the board take a look at the Cambrian group to begin moving forward on a process. What we do expect is to have 2 board members serve. It's almost like a subcommittee to be part of the 20 people. So it would be 2 board members that would ensure that communication would come back to the board as well as myself about the progress of it at board meetings so that you all are well aware of how we're moving forward. Any questions or?
I just simply think that sounds like the best bang for our buck with that price disparity and the amount of service that is given for that price. It just seems like there's no other way to go other than that, so it sounds wonderful.
The other thing that we did a little bit of homework on the side in that the Cambrian group has recently walked through strategic planning processes with San Juan Unified and Rockland Unified, which are in our area. And if you go onto San Juan Unified's website, you will see a gorgeous product that's very simple. It's not a whole binder that it used to be, and it would sit on the shelf. It's a doable living document that's very, very simplified and very, very focused. I believe they have 4 goals, 4 strategies. And under those strategies, those goals, it's identified from the staff, from the committees, how we will achieve that work. on behalf of our students. It's very, very student-focused.
Just one more question. You mentioned there would be a group of 20. Who would that be?
The 20 people would be 2 board members, the superintendent, the cabinet. We would have the WTA president, the CSEA president. We would have teachers. We would have other classified staff. We would have administration, and we would have
All
parents.
the partners, okay.
We would have as many partners as possible. It would also be best to have one city leader as well in that, because it does affect the city. And, that usually there is some city representative, a community representative on the on the committee, so that they understand where the school district itself is going.
Roughly how many parents?
We can take a look at that. 20 gets filled pretty quickly.
Yeah, it sounded like that with the
Yeah,
cabinet.
but we will have parent representation on there. The important thing is that this is a document and it's a plan that needs to actually be implemented. And so the people who are really going to be implementing it, the administration and the staff, really need to be the bulk of that, because they will be determining the focus, and that's a commitment to really where the heart of our work will be. Yeah.
Okay, and so to clarify, this is 3 to 5 goals, and that will get us through a 5-year plan? Okay, and so then in 5 years, possibly groups go through this process again?
Yes, but each year we should be revising accordingly. The way that I envision it is that the board would either get a yearly update or a biannual update, to find out how are we progressing. It's kind of like the concept of the LCAP, only this particular document is not a compliance document like the LCAP is. And this document is who we are. And of course, the LCAP is going to be in that as well. It will mirror it quite a bit. But the strategic plan is about who we are, what we believe for our students, and what we commit and promise to do for our students. The LCAP is about ensuring we do things accordingly to state requirements, basically. It should be the same. It should not be separate. They should be very similar.
I'm sorry, just one last question. You said it's kind of a living, breathing document.
Yes.
Thus, that means it can be amended at any time, should it be necessary?
Each year, it should be amended and reviewed, yes.
Is there any period of time before that when it can be amended, if it was necessary?
Absolutely, certainly,
Okay.
certainly. And we want to make sure that we have the time. That's why 3 to 5 years, you can achieve things with perseverance, through trial and error of learning. And, we all know that takes time. And 3 to 5 years is a good time frame to stay committed to certain amount of goals.
Okay. When I first came to the board, I know that they have worked very hard to start with the strategic plan process, not what we're talking about here, but really work on what are some goals, what's some focus. And I think that this really takes us to that next level, because as you said, it was a top-down process. It's board members kind of trying to think, where do we want to go? And this really gets the community and all staff involved, and I think will be a powerful document. And as you brought up the LCAP being the compliance piece, that we were so excited about getting all that parent feedback and getting out. And for families, when they do the surveys, our staff did a fabulous job, but it's kind of confusing. What's your priority? It's not as user-friendly of a document, really. And so I think that this is an exciting place where we can really think about our focus in a way that's very easy for folks to get really engaged in.
Right.
And know exactly what we're doing. And then not just have bullets, but really what are the metrics? What
Right.
does that look like, rather than our pretty subtitles and
Right.
really understanding.
And the good thing about that is identifying the metrics, identifying the resources, identifying the sequence of achieving these 3 to 5 goals is going to come from the people who will actually be doing that and seeing the reality of, we could do this. These are the steps that we need to take, versus having the state or another mandate come to tell us what needs to be done. This is really the roots effects of who we are as Washington Unified School District.
I have one more question. How would you measure the results of this plan?
What we would do, that's the annual or the biannual update that would need to be brought to the board. The way I envision it is a Gantt chart. Once the actions are identified and approved by the board, then we create a Gantt chart. And what we see is the color coding of what is in process, what is achieved and completed, now it's done, or what is going to be done the following year and not this year. Not everything can be done in the first year. So then it kind of spaces it out on how we achieve those goals. Yeah.
Can I clarify what word you use for the chart?
A Gantt
Gantt?
chart is, so let's say there are 5 action steps to one goal. So then we would have the goal written out on top like a header. And then we would have the 5 action steps, action plans to do it. And we would give a timeline of a month or a quarter of the school year. And we would show by coloring, green means we have accomplished it in this month. Or if it's blank, that means it's meant to be at a later time. Or if it might be another color like blue, that means that it's work in progress. It could be struck out, that it is not feasible and we change our mind and it's not going to be doable. So it just helps us to visually track and to keep in mind the bigger picture of the whole strategic plan, and ensuring that we really are going to commit to doing what we said we would do.
Perfect. Thank you. So goals, I'm still hung up on this. Goals, action, what would
Yes.
N and T be?
The what?
The N and T. It's not an acronym? Oh, it's someone's name. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I had the idea behind what you were saying. I was trying to understand the actual name, but, okay. All right, now I've got it. Should be goals and action.
Yes, goals and actions, yes.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, do we have, yes?
Yes, I just had one more question.
Yes, please.
In terms of graduation rates, are we going to be using those as some sort of determinants of how this plan is working?
We certainly can do that if the group of 20 people feel, in some manner, use that as one of our goals. Absolutely, but I can tell you that our graduation rates are going to be, whether it's on this strategic plan or not, it is a priority in our district. And so whether it makes it on here or not, we really have no choice but to make that a priority, ensuring that all of our students are ready for that. Now, I think components of the plan will help strengthen what our graduation rates are each year, as it should be showing growth versus stagnant or any kind of decrease. I can say, looking at the blush of the district over the past few years, we have done well. And what we're waiting for right now is, the KC is no longer in existence. So we're waiting for what will the state put in as a requirement for the graduation. We can name the handful of students that did not graduate at River City High School because of the KC. Okay, and that's a handful of students. This past year was 5, but then I think 2 or 3 of them did actually retake it in the summer. So that's awesome, that's excellent. The question is how do we continue that and ensure that there's 100% of graduation for all of our students, including yellow.
Okay, no further discussion. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I too vote aye.
Thank you, trustees. What we will do is provide an executive summary for the board for information on the rollout of the plan once we meet with the Cambrian group. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So that takes us to the consent agenda. If If there's no discussion there, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved?
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
And I too vote aye. Okay, so board governance, the first read of board policy and administrative regulations, 6141, and board policy and administrative regulations, 6161.1. Educational services. Mr.
Good
Smith.
evening again. Don Stoffer had referred to this a little bit earlier, and I don't think it's any secret that some of our policies are a little bit stale. And so there's an item in here that deals with our instructional materials. We're in, as you know, the process of a math adoption, and that's going on along very, very well. But we wanted to get our policies up to date and really to reflect, you know, the very latest. So we have consulted with CSBA sample policies, and that's one of the many great services that we have from the California School Boards Association. And we have before you the policy that they have drawn up with really very few revisions, in fact, none, that has us, takes us through the adoption process for instructional materials. We do this, and it's a good time to do this because we are back in the business of doing instructional materials adoptions again. It was a while, as you know, when we faced kind of the fiscal problems that we've had statewide, but we are starting with a math adoption for next year, an English language arts adoption the following year, and then most likely science and social science coming up. So we want to make sure that we have good policies and recent policies in place to do so. This is the first read, so an approval tonight is just the first approval. If there are anything that, any kinds of things that you want to revise, we can bring that back, and then the second read would be the final approval of this policy.
Is there any discussion? Okay. It looked good. I so appreciate this because sometimes we go back and I'll look at policy and I can't tell if it's up to date or not up to date. And I definitely know that we have places that we need to work. So I'm happy to see that these are on our agenda now, and we'll be going through our board policy together. So if there's no discussion, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
Or we're making a motion to approve. It's not on action.
It's an approval of the first read, I think is how we've done that
Okay,
in the
so,
past.
okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I too vote aye. Okay, so for future board agenda items, we have apprenticeship program opportunities, which we'll be talking about in March, as well as reviewing of the board bylaws.
Okay, and I'd like to add something.
Yeah.
Also, single-member districts for Washington Unified.
Okay. And are there any other pieces to add? Do we have any other? Okay, all right. So with that, if I can have a motion to adjourn? But
So
first,
moved.
happy Valentine's Day to everybody. We love you all if you're in Washington Unified.
Just
Okay, now motion.
So moved.
Okay, can I have a second?
We want to stay, huh?
I know. I miss Mary's love poems.
I know. I didn't write you one, sorry.
Oh.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.